5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of the Judiciary Committee in this body, and unfortunately, the framers of the Constitution didn't give my committee or this chamber a role in vetting and confirming the President's nominees to the Supreme Court. But in the House, we pride ourselves as being the people's house because we're in constant contact with our constituents. So while I do not have a vote in the process, I do have a voice. And as an elected representative, I feel a sacred responsibility to raise my voice. First of all, I don't care when the allegations of sexual assault came forward. I don't care about whatever schedule Senator Chuck Grassley thinks is more important. I don't care about the impending fall term of the court or the timing of Robert Mueller's next indictments in his investigation of the Trump White House and campaign. In the case of Judge Brett Kavanaugh, we should listen to the women. We should always listen to the women, but in this case, multiple women have come forward to risk their lives and reputations because they believe the truth about Judge Kavanaugh must come out before he is confirmed or rejected by the Senate. Women in this country should know that if you come forward to make credible allegations against anyone, you will be respected and you will be heard. You want to know why so few sexual assaults are reported in this country? Well, it's unfolding on the national stage. Why didn't she report it? Why didn't she do something more? Why didn't she say something earlier? It's always she. When we know that sexual assault is not her fault and fear of coming forward is not her fault either. They didn't believe Bill Cosby's accusers until they did, or Harvey Weinstein's, or Speaker Hastert's, or 100 other people I could name here today until we did. When the stakes are this high, we shouldn't be imposing deadlines or ultimatums or requiring victims to conform to our timetables, as Republican senators have done. And by high stakes, I just don't mean the lifetime appointment of a judge. But this is an important moment for young men and young women in this country. They're watching and they're learning. We should be leading by example and allowing victims to come forward, be respected, and be heard. Do I want my grandson to learn a lesson that sexual assault while he is in high school could follow him for the rest of his life? You're damn right I do. Do I want young men to learn that behavior that hurts other people, no matter how drunk or how high they are, is unacceptable? You're damn right I do. Do I want young women to not be afraid to come forward, no matter when they are ready to? You're damn right I do. Look, I'm not saying you need to believe Judge Kavanaugh's accusers, but as a Congress and as a country, we need to listen to women. Now, I'll admit that I would not vote for Judge Kavanaugh whether or not the current allegations are true, or Republicans steamroll the victims to fast-track his appointment. I believe in a woman's right to control her own reproductive system regardless of what men think, so yeah, you can bet I'd vote against them. I believe in freedom of religion should extend to all, including those of the Muslim faith, who should be able to worship and move around just like everyone else, so you can bet I'd vote against Kavanaugh. I believe that people should marry whoever they want, whoever they love. I oppose a judge who thinks a sitting president is above the law right now when we need, as a nation, an independent judiciary to hold politicians, even the president, accountable, which is another reason I wouldn't vote for Judge Kavanaugh. But what is important right now is not how I feel about Judge Kavanaugh. What is important is that we lead by example. We need to be clear that the days of boys will be boys, or it was just locker room talk, are over. And the Senate should take as much time as is needed to take very seriously this situation. And they should take it seriously for our daughters, for our sons, for you, and for me too.
Chair recognizes